Hello everyone, I'm John Cunnison. I'm the Chief Investment Officer at Baker Boyer Bank. Thanks for joining me today for our monthly market update. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the past 5 years, and we're going to look ahead to the future. Now, the past 5 years have been extremely challenging for all of us. If we think back, we had a pandemic, recovery and reopening, we had inflation and a rapid rise in interest rates, we had war and suffering in Eastern Europe. We've seen the uneasy détente between the US and China begin to unravel as Xi Jinping gets more openly aggressive. We've seen bank failures. All the while, economists have been predicting recession. Usually it takes some form of an airplane analogy, a soft landing, a hard landing, a no landing. But generally speaking, the prediction has been for recession, which we haven't seen. And during this time, markets did what markets do. Markets took all of this new information, all these new events, and asked the question, how does this new event, how does this new information affect the companies that we are all invested in? How does it affect that company's ability to generate value for shareholders going forward? And based on that new information coming in and those new assessments, prices in markets go up and down, and that's normal and natural. That's a healthy market. And we saw that over the last 5 years. Where do we find ourselves today? Well, if we look at US stocks over the last 5 years, on average per year, we've seen an excellent return, well over 10%. In international stocks, if we look on average per year over the last 5 years, this tumultuous 5-year period, we see mid to high single digits for international stocks. In the bond markets, and remember, as I say this return for the bond markets, remember that 2022 was the worst year for bonds in over a century. And yet here we find ourselves with an average annual 5-year return that's positive for the bond market. Put all that together and a balanced, well-constructed portfolio to a disciplined, patient investor generated a very attractive return. And how could this be possible? After all that we just went through in the last 5 years, how is it possible that we have investment portfolios that have generated attractive returns, returns that support financial plans? Well, free markets incentivize risk-taking and innovation, right? While we're sleeping, companies are innovating, right? It comes in forms large and small. It can be applications of new technology to an old business. It can be applications of AI. It can be inventing AI. It can be something as simple as a new process for loading freight onto a truck. All of these things can generate value for shareholders, and yet they don't make headlines. They're not the things that I just listed at the beginning, this list of great challenges. Looking forward, we have no shortage of things to worry about, right? We have conflict in the Middle East that is heating up. War in Ukraine continues. We have a very close and contentious election in the US that's coming up that causes, I know, a lot of us to worry. And yet, that innovation continues. And as we look at economies around the world, we see inflation coming down to more normal levels, which is allowing central banks to normalize monetary policy. And we're seeing that in the US right now. Next week, we're going to take a more close look, a deeper dive into US elections and talk about what it may mean for investors. Right? Ted Cohan will be talking about that at our economic updates in Walla Walla, Tri-Cities, and Yakima. I'm going to take a look at more broad market data, and we're going to talk about what that means for investors. If that's of interest to you, reach out to a member of your Baker Boyer team, and we'd be happy to make sure you have all the information you need to attend. Now, I just want to wrap up with this. And that's that if there's one thing we learned from the last 5-year period, it's that the best investment outcomes came to investors who were disciplined and patient. But that is easier said than done. When you're in the midst of a pandemic, when you're thinking about the potential for conflict to spread in the Middle East, it's very normal and natural to think about what that means for your investment portfolio. Should I be making changes? Now, if, as you're hearing the news, As you're reading the news, there are things that are worrying you and causing you to think that changes should be made in your investment portfolio. Please reach out to a member of your Baker Boyer team. Please reach out to me personally. A big part of what we do is to help our clients maintain discipline to capture the investment returns that make their financial plans work. So please reach out to us if you have questions. Thank you for joining me today. Good investing and take care.